Black Country New Road, Forever Howlong, their first studio album since the departure of Isaac. They of course had the Live at Bush Hall album just a couple of years ago though, which was an album that featured vocals from May, Georgia, and yeah, was basically like their return to the music world, but it wasn't an official studio album. However, it felt like one to me, because basically every single song was songs that we hadn't heard before, really, and yeah, they're kind of like the only versions we have recorded of those songs. So it's a bit of a weird live album in that sense. It's not a standard live album where you play all the hits. No, this time it felt like a completely brand new musical experience from the band, and it was enough for me to be absolutely in love with it. In fact, I had a bit of a unique wildcard take that it was my favourite Black Country New Road album completely when you factor in the studio ones as well, which I know is not one that many people agree with. That's not to say I don't like the other ones. I thought their first one was great. I liked Ants From Up There, thought it was decent. Felt a bit long-winded at times, didn't quite lock me in the way that I think it did for other people. I mean, it's like in the top 100 all-time on Rate Your Music. It's in the top 100 all-time on Album of the Year. Like, I do feel a little out of touch with that album, I will say, because that reception feels crazy to me. Even though I do like the band, I don't think they really have anything in that kind of conversation. But yeah, people seem to love Ants From Up There a lot more than I did. And Live at Bush Hall is the one that I feel most attached to, if I'm being honest. So what could go wrong? We have it again, where we've got, you know, Georgia taking a lot of the vocal leads, and May as well, singing on this album. I loved Live at Bush Hall. It's my favourite overall album from the band. I did like Isaac. I thought Isaac was great. But surely the first studio album with completely new original tracks with the two female leads would be a no-brainer for me. Surely, right? Surely to God, I'm going to love this one. And, I don't know, man, Forever Howlong is not hitting for me. It's not happening, man. I've tried, and I keep trying, and it just ain't happening. It's like waiting for Southampton to get a win in the Premier League this season, man. It's just not happening. I'm trying, they're trying, we're both trying, and we're getting the same results. It's just a bit of a letdown in some ways. I'm just not really getting like enamored with the songs. I'm not really finding myself being floored by anything in particular. There's nothing really standing out. Everything's done well. There's nothing done badly on this album at all. The writing's solid, the vocals are lovely, some of the instrumentals are really sweet and twee, and kind of follow the chamber pop sound of what they were doing on the live album as well. They're kind of gravitating more towards that again, and yet it just isn't sticking. Nothing's really landing for me. I'm just left, after every track. The singles had me worried from the get-go, really. I'd heard the tracks and I just wasn't really feeling them, and in context with the album as well, Besties is just a bit whatever to me. Nothing again really stands out particularly. Nothing's really like hitting me or tugging at anything particular. I'm not really emotionally attached to it. I do feel like the use of Besties throughout the track is a little lame as well, and yeah, instrumentally it's just all fine, it's just all okay. I'm just left feeling very little. It's not particularly like sticky either, so it's not like the song is, you know, sticking in my head in a particular way. There's no real standout features that make me want to go back to it. It's not beautiful, it's not arranged in a really like stunning way that I would like this kind of music to be. I'm just sort of like, yeah, cool, it's fine, whatever. And then I did kind of side-eye a little bit at the line where they say I'm a walking TikTok trend. I was a bit like, okay, that feels very Isaac. Like, I feel like we're trying to bring back a little bit of those Isaacisms, because we didn't get that on Live at Bush Hall. It felt like a completely separate entity, and it didn't feel like they were trying to continue that at all in any place, which I think was really great for them, and super impressive as well, to completely, like, you know, shape shift your sound and style post a singer leaving, especially somebody as unique as Isaac. Like, his voice, his style, his delivery, his lyrics, like completely one of a kind. And Live at Bush Hall just felt like, okay, he's gone, cool, we'll regroup and we'll aim for something that feels individual, and they did that so well. And I just thought this lyric particularly rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I was a bit like, that's not something I feel like you would say. That feels like something that you'd get on the first album. Like, not a major thing, just a thing that I noticed that was a bit like, okay, it's not going to completely knock down my overall opinion of the album. It was just something that I was a bit like, alright. The big spin as well, lyrically, talking about all the apples and the beets and all of the veggies and the fruits. I genuinely at one point thought like we were going to slip into that, you know, if you're British, that assembly song when you were at school, the apples are ripe, the plums are red. I was just like completely like, what are we doing with these lyrics here, man? It felt so overly like thought out in a way that just made the whole thing read really oddly, and just felt like it was like deeper or more important than it ended up really being. Again, not a major thing, but it's just like still trying to grapple with something on this album, still trying to latch onto something with this album, and I just couldn't get it, because again, instrumentally it all just kind of washed over me. Socks was where I was like, okay, I'm starting to figure out what it might be that I'm not really getting here, and I think it's just the familiarity of it all. Like, that instrumentally felt like something you would get from Ants from Up There, and then the way it just doesn't really progress all that much, and the progression is kind of like feels a bit stunted throughout the song, just felt like a weaker version of something we've heard the band do before. And that was where I was starting to understand my gripes with this album. It was just a bit like, we're doing things we've heard before here, and it's just not being done as well. And that was something I was a bit worried about, because I was like, if I'm going to go into a review here and tell you from the start that I loved Live at Bush Hall, and then tell you that I'm not really feeling this one, it's going to come across really odd and inconsistent. But I don't know, I think sometimes a band can make an album and it be brilliant, and then they make another album a few years later, or however many years later, and they maybe try and retread some similar things, and it just doesn't sound as good. And I think that's a very common thing in music. Like, it isn't that inconsistent to feel like you like one more than the other. And I don't want this whole review to just be a comparison to their other work either, because I don't think that's fair. But yeah, it is just a thing. Sometimes you can make a similar thing again, and it's amazing, and it works really well. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's kind of just like the sort of short story of it, really. Because for the Cold Country, which has this kind of medieval theme, which I was sort of like, okay, this does interest me, but I wasn't absolutely like, you know, really blown away by the lyrics, but I at least appreciated some of the kind of like unique angles they took with it. It made the song kind of stand out on the album. But the thing that was, again, was a bit like, oh, okay, was that crescendo, where it just felt like they shoehorned it in right at the end of the song, because Black Country New Road do that, don't they? That's a Black Country New Road thing. We have these instrumentals that build and progress, and it crescendos, and it bursts into life, and it has all these really like unique instrumentals kind of clashing together. Like, that's the Black Country thing, New Road thing to do, you know? That's what we do. And it just felt like so unearned. It felt like so added on and tacked on, and the song itself is quite long, but it didn't really feel like we built up to that moment. It just felt like a typical generic thing for the band to do at the end of a song. Do you get what I mean? Goodbye had it too for me, where again that ending felt big, it felt full of life, it felt all the instrumentals just kind of like came to life, and the band were kind of showing off their technical ability. It sounded fine, there was nothing wrong with it, but it just felt a bit like, okay, but if you go back to their previous work, you know, you can find stuff like this again and again and again. And it's just like 4 albums in, really, if you're counting the live album, which I think you should, because it's original material. Like, you know, getting that again and again and again just is like, oh, okay, well, fine, but it's just feeling like lesser. It has a lesser impact than it did when you heard it before, and I just was a bit like, At least on that track though, the closing track, Goodbye, like I did feel it felt a bit more built into the song, and it built up to it. Whereas for the Cold Country, it just kind of felt like it was there for the sake of it. Another thing as well that felt a bit repetitive or a bit overly done was like the like those kinds of vocals popped up quite a few times in the album. You know, Mary, which was so sluggish, honestly. Like I found that so dry. I found it so boring. It didn't really get anywhere, and it didn't have an urgency to it. It had a tweeness, it had a sweetness, a sweet tweeness about it. A sweetness, tweeness, a tweeness, sweetness, whatever you want to bloody say. Like, it had, again, those elements that should make me kind of go, wow. Because I'm a bit of a sucker for that kind of sweet chamber pop, Baroque pop feeling that just feels like it enters your body and it just makes you feel so full of joy. There are so many reviews on this channel you can find that have that sound that I'm just head over heels for. But for this track, again, it just felt like I wasn't really feeling it, and those like that come along, like you get it on Goodbye, and I'm just a bit like, oh, right, yeah, we kind of keep repeating some things here, and then it's Forever How Long that takes it that step too far with the sweetness of it all. That makes it feel like the animals are going to come out of the forest and they're all going to, you know, come to the lady singing so beautifully, like a Disney movie or something. It all just felt a bit too saccharine. And honestly, if you labelled Live at Bush Hall saccharine or too sweet or a bit too much for you, I'd kind of go, yeah, I get that. It works for me. But if you feel that way, I fully get it. And this is where I'm like, okay, the people that said that about that album, I'm starting to see those things pop up here. It just felt a little much, a bit too rich, like a cake that you enjoy the taste of. But like it's just a little like, oh, okay, it's a bit sickly and rich here. And Forever How Long, the title track, just bordered on that for me. I am here to say some good things though, because this isn't a bad album by any means, even though it might sound like I'm being negative. It's more me just trying to express that the album isn't really doing a great deal for me, rather than me saying it's bad. Hopefully you can sense the difference there in what I'm saying. But yeah, Two Horses is a positive, is something I want to highlight on the album that I think, yeah, is good. I again, particularly like lyrically, is one of the tracks that stood out to me, because I think that's one thing that I want to come out of a Black Country New Road album thinking. You know, like I want there to be some really interesting lyrics and some really unique writing ideas, because you get that on all their albums. And this is a track that I think was cool. It kind of sounded like, you know, the olden days where people travelled around on horses, kind of like a Red Dead Redemption scene or something. And then she's kind of like, you know, relying on this guy. She's lonely, so she's kind of, you know, become besotted by him. But then he kind of betrays her without spoiling what he does. But he becomes a bit of a traitor and ends up, you know, ruining her in some kind of way. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. Kind of like that unique take on the track, kind of gave you a story that you wouldn't normally pick up on most albums. And musically, familiar again, it kind of hit the same beats you would expect, but it was done well enough that I was at least kind of entertained by one aspect of it. Because with tracks like Happy Birthday and things, there isn't really one real element that draws me in, whereas this track at least had the writing and the sharp lyrics and the unique storytelling that drew me in, that made me kind of have something to latch onto, which is what I was saying earlier in this review, where I was like, I'm trying to latch onto, grab or grapple something that kind of tickles my brain in some kind of way, and I just don't really feel like it's there. And I don't want to feed into any of the mind-numbing discourse that has already surrounded this album and this band generally upon this release, that I guess you're getting a lot more of nowadays on social media, particularly around albums and the way people speak about music. It's just gotten really, really annoying and really infuriating to participate in. And everything feels like rage bait. Everything feels like, you know, you're just kind of saying anything to get the most likes and the most engagement. It's very hard to tell what is that and what isn't that anymore. But I don't want to feed into any of that around this album, because there's been some really bizarre takes about how people think they've gone woke because it's a woman singing now and the man's gone. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, did you completely skip the live album? Like, clearly that was the direction they were going in more than 2 years ago. Like, where were you when that happened? And then you've got people saying, oh, well, people only don't like this album because it's a woman singing. And it's like, it all just kind of ends up having the most extreme takes that feed into the extremes, and then it ends up being the most talked about conversation surrounding it. And it's like, sometimes, you know, neither of those things are true. And you just kind of got to go, no, actually, I like that there's a different singer and they found a way to make the music work post the singer leaving, because that's not an easy thing to do, by the way. That's really not easy. But I just don't like this approach. I just don't like how this album ends up coming together. It just doesn't feel like it reaches those beautiful moments like they did on the live album, and I'm just not sure how. I'm just scratching my head a little bit, like, why isn't this working for me? And I don't think I can answer that question. Like, I just don't think this album works for me particularly. I don't think it's bad. I think there are some good moments, and I think it is bordering on at least a decent album. But overall, honestly, I'd be lying if I didn't give this a 5.5 out of 10. Like, I think around that range has to be where I'm at with this album, because there just really isn't much I'd want to return to. There just really isn't that much that's like enamoring me or getting me locked into any particular element. Like, it's just not really hitting. It's just not really hitting. And I hope you guys appreciate and understand the honesty and enjoyed this review, because if you are a lover of this album, you might be really angry, but at least don't get so angry that you lose sight of what's normal. Just be normal about it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what you think of the album. If you agree, I would like to see your thoughts as well. And yeah, thank you as always for watching this review. Please keep it civil. And yeah, hopefully somebody out there agrees with me. I'd love to see somebody say they agree in the comments. Yeah, be articulate, be thoughtful, and yeah, share your opinions on music, because I love to see them. And that's it from me. It's going to be the review now finishing, and yeah, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please check out more videos. Please, if this is a video that you would even be like, I want to monetarily support this guy, which would be crazy, but if you would like to check out, you know, the membership page, the Patreon, would massively appreciate you. There is positivity that does come on this channel, so this is not the only negative thing you're going to come across, you know. Well, it won't be the only negative thing, but it isn't the only feeling you get watching my videos. So thank you as always. Do have a good day, and goodbye.